2023 so far seems to be the year of the biopic of things we didn't know we cared about how they were made, like the Air Jordan sneaker, the game Tetris, the Blackberry, and now Flamin' Hot Cheetos gets its own movie. Let's talk about Hulu's Flamin' Hot. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new Hulu film Flamin' Hot. This is the directorial feature film debut of Eva Longoria from the old Desperate Housewives days. She's been behind the camera actually a lot lately with producing stuff, and maybe she's directed some TV episodes, I don't know, but this is her feature film debut in terms of directing, and it follows the story of Richard Montañez, who was a Frito-Lay janitor who created, theoretically, the Cheetos Flamin' Hot. He sort of went above his pay grade and talked directly to the CEO, and you know, kind of convinced him to get the Flamin' Hot Cheetos made. So before I launch into any more specifics about the movie and then get to my review, I want to welcome you into DM Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We've got a ton of great stuff on the channel for you to check out. I try to post something new just about every day, TV or movie related. And if you are not a subscriber yet, would love to have you aboard in that capacity. So just hit that subscribe button down below, or just like this video, or comment down below, or share it on your socials. All that stuff does help the channel out. All right, so Jesse Garcia plays Richard in this film, and I was kind of unfamiliar with his name, but he's popped up in a lot of things. Most recently, he was in the Jennifer Lopez movie The Mother on Netflix, but he's done a lot of TV and movie work, including a season of Narcos recently, and in the TV version of From Dusk Till Dawn, he had a starring role there, so he's definitely been around. His wife, played by Annie Gonzalez, and then a couple other people you might know. Dennis Haysbert plays a gentleman also working in the factory. He plays a machinist, so a little bit above the custodian level, but he you know, sort of is a friend to Richard. And then Roger Enrico, the CEO, is played by Tony Shalhoub. You of course know him from many things over the years. So this is, yeah, the story of how this dude you know, kind of came from rags to riches, as they say, and that is sort of the main thing I think that kind of sets this movie in particular apart from those other biopics I mentioned at the top there. You know, we had recently the Air Jordan movie called Air. Blackberry I have not seen yet. It's getting really good reviews, so I'm excited for whenever that comes to streaming, because it came to like very select theaters and I missed it. But then also you had the Tetris movie with Taron Egerton, which was, you know, not necessarily how Tetris was made, but sort of how they got the rights to it and was able to distribute it, etc. So but all of those, well, I guess Tetris sort of had a little bit of a rags to riches feel, but not really, you know, because the dudes were still, you know, schooled and knowledgeable in certain things. You know, this guy didn't finish high school, and in fact, he lies on his resume to get his foot in the door at Frito-Lay. So this is sort of, you know, one of those like American Dream kind of stories, rags to riches, as I said. And I think that does set it apart from some of these other things, you know, that I mentioned, where it's kind of like, okay, you know, not rich person necessarily, but like a white collar, you know, white dude, you know, stumbles upon, oh, let's get Michael Jordan, you know, or whatever it is. Here, we really have, you know, this family starting out with nothing. In fact, the beginning of the movie goes through a little bit of Richard's history with crime and going to jail and all of that, you know, for drug dealing and stuff like that. So we kind of see that aspect of it, you know, his family, their struggles, all of that. And I feel like a lot of that stuff is absent from a lot of these other movies I'm mentioning. So that, I think, definitely sets it apart. And the acting here is very good. Specifically, you know, kind of the three leads here, Garcia, Haysbert, and Shalhoub, you know, all do really well with, I think, roles, you know, especially for Dennis Haysbert. We've seen him in so many different kinds of roles, you know, but a lot of them, because of that big booming voice of his and his older look, you know, they're more sort of distinguished roles, like, the president in 24 and stuff like that. But here he's just kind of an everyday, blue collar factory worker, very smart in what he does, but striking up that friendship, and the two of them play well off each other. And then Tony Shalhoub comes in about halfway through the movie, and he's just great. He's probably the strongest in the film, although Garcia, very, very good as well. Longoria's directing, it's fine. I think it gets the job done for what it needs. It's not fancy necessarily, but for a first-time directing job, it certainly, captured not only my attention, but I think it captured the spirit of this family and Mexican American people of this time period. Going through the kind of 80s and early 90s and stuff. It felt very authentic, and I'm sure that was very important for Longoria to, sort of relate to the audience. However, the biggest issue with this movie by a clear mile is that most of it is wholly untrue. And it's something that I sort of got a sense of about 2/3 of the way in. Like, it started out, and a lot of the stuff in Montañez's history with his family and some of that, a lot of that is true. And yes, he was a Frito-Lay janitor, and there's, I sort of looked into it after the fact, because as the movie went on, the final, maybe half hour, 40 minutes of it, it kept getting more and more almost fantastical in its approach, and with some speechifying, and everyone saying yes, hooray, like, let's, and I'm not going to give away some of the specifics here, but it didn't seem very realistic. And I thought, all right, everybody kind of with biopics does take some liberties here, but this is really being pitched as the true story of what this dude did. And so I looked into it a little bit after the fact, and this is based on a book that Montañez wrote about how he came up with it. So it's all sort of according to him. It's his truth, but Frito-Lay as a company has kind of denied that he really did much at all with the Flamin' Hot. There's different reports that, okay, maybe it was his idea later on to add Flamin' Hot to their popcorn. But by all accounts from Frito-Lay, really most of this didn't happen. And so that really kind of put a damper on my thoughts on the film. And it's a shame, because before I knew that, I was definitely kind of in that B range. I think the family stuff really does set it apart, and that stuff I think works quite well. And apparently that's the most true stuff in the movie, really. So great, that stuff's very good. Like I said, it sets it apart from some of the other recent biopics in sort of a business nature. But the fact that they are presenting this as a completely true story, and look, yes, there was liberties taken in Tetris and some liberties with the Jordan movie. There always is, right? And it reminds me a little bit of P.T. Barnum in The Greatest Showman. That I think was less of this is a true story biopic, because, it's a musical, and it's a little more fantastical by nature, right? But yeah, okay, there were definitely some issues with the truth telling in that movie too. But just the way this is presented as this is how things really happened. This is this guy, and I don't know. So I'm a little torn in that regard. Yeah, it's definitely his truth. He wrote the book about it and everything, but so much of it seems to be just completely fabricated. And that came out a couple of years ago as this movie was in production. They still went ahead with the movie. They're calling it, in all kind of the taglines and the posters, the true story. It's I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way. So look, there's definitely good performances here. There's some good to be gleaned through kind of the family dynamic stuff. And it is an interesting story. Like, if you go into it with the mindset of, okay, this is very fabricated, it is a good story. Although I still think, even with that knowledge, I do think it gets a little fantastical by the end. And so that's why it wasn't really much higher than kind of a B to begin with. But in the end, it's not really a true story. So I do have to dock it a little bit for that. But for some good performances and for some competent first-time directing from Longoria, I will leave Flamin' Hot with a C+. Plus, and you can stream that now on Hulu if you so desire. Thanks for watching Dan Reviews It. We'll see you next time. Bye.